All right, I want to start off by showing you a few examples of what a portfolio could look like. This is from the spring, and these are a few different covers. You can see that these people really took the project and ran with it. This is their creative expression, and that's what I'm looking for you. I'm going to start you off with this project. You can just go at this in any direction you want to, as long as the content is there that I need, which is the cover, which is a table of contents. This will be different. You're going to have different assignments. You're only going to have 2 Illustrator projects, 2 Photoshop projects, and 2 InDesign projects. Assignment spreads. The layouts can be different. So this has what I need. It has the name of what it is I'm asking for, the still life project, the name of the person, and that it was in Illustrator. And you're going to do that for Photoshop and for InDesign. And this is a different take on a page layout. So there's different ways to solve this design problem. And I'd really like you to try to see how you can solve it that brings out your characteristics of who you are as a designer. Let's get started with the setups. Remember, this is just an avenue to get you started, and you can adjust the template in any fashion you would like. All right, let's start setting up your preset details. Make sure the size is correct. You can start with 5 pages, 6 columns, and 2.5 margin. Also do the bleed of 0.25. And just make sure you title the file correctly with the portfolio and your name. All right, so you're ready to get started. You have your columns, you have your pages in the panels. 5 of them, you'll have to add some more. If you hit W, you'll see the print view, or W to see the work view. And also keep in mind you can make changes and alterations, but also start on the master page to do so. So this is another portfolio from last year. And the first thing I want to show you is that this is linked as a JPEG. So now I'm going to show you how to create the JPEG so you can place them into your portfolio. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I have those JPEGs from the assignments. You can go back to the submission assignments and download them from every time you have submitted a project if you don't seem to have them available. Make sure you put it somewhere that you know on your desktop. Probably create a folder. You're going to make sure that you have downloaded Acrobat CD. It's really important that this is the version that you're using than just an Acrobat reader. This is a more advanced, and hopefully you've been using this as you've been doing this class. But if you haven't, make sure you grab it from your available subscriptions and make sure it's downloaded. You want to double click on it and make sure it opens up into the Adobe Pro CD. And here it's really easy. Once I have the PDF open, I can just go up to File, Export, Image, JPEG. And then click on the JPEG, tell it where I want it to go, desktop, and then hit Save. Once it's saved on my desktop, I have my image ready for one of my assignments. So you're going to have and you can see right here that this is something that might happen to you. My links have error marks. So you can select it and you can always relink it. So I can go to the desktop where this is found in my folder, and I can just look for Monogram 1. And then I can hit open. And sometimes it will see the other ones and then reselect them for you. Otherwise, you might have to go through each one. All right, so that's links. Make sure that you check your links and that they are always working correctly. So the front cover, really important. I want you to design the front cover. Think about the patterns that you did. So this is one of the students' work, a decorative element for the front cover of your portfolio. So you could use patterns, you can go back and put a color fill. You can really explore different options with this. So it's the title, which is the Portfolio Spring 2002, and then your name. We're going to do a table of contents. And then we will follow with project. For this project, I want you to really explore how you would like to set these pages up. I'm going to show you some standard looks, go further and design your own unique layout. Just to make sure that everything is standardized and looks the same. If you go with this look, all of them should look like this. The only thing that should change is maybe the size and proportion of your project. All right. Every page should not have a new iteration of their title. So this is the title. Every page should have a title that should say Illustrator, Photoshop, or InDesign, depending on the project, the actual project name, and then your name. This hasn't been designed yet. This is just the elements on the page. So this front page can be designed on its own. I would not necessarily put this in to a style guide like paragraph style. It's a one-shot deal. It's something that's just for the cover. When we start getting into the table of contents, I think the table of contents should relate to your treatment for each page. So whatever you're going to use for Illustrator, maybe you use the same for the Illustrator call out here. Whatever you're going to use for the title of the project should be the same use. This will help set up your pages to have that same look and style. We want this to have a system. We want people to see and recognize the system throughout each of the pages. Because this is really important when we start getting into page numbering, which I will go back and explain more in detail, but let's make sure that this looks the same. And if you look at my page layout under pages, you'll see that I have a page 1, and then I have a page 1 again, and then 2, 3, 4. So my page 1 I set up as my cover. So this is its own individual page number. And then when we get to the table of contents, I start a new page. So I do this by, you have to select on the one you want to change. So if I'm on the cover, I want to make sure that that cover stays set as a page starter, a page 1. So I can go up to these little hamburgers. It's in the pages, but it's over to the right. It's these little lines. And this has more information that relates solely to pages. And this first page, I want to make sure that the number starts at 1. Don't worry about the rest. Just make sure it starts at 1. Then hit OK. So now I'm going to go to page, what you're looking at as page 2, which will be our table of contents, which is this right. And I'm going to go up, and this is where it's going to change for you. You're going to go to page numbering, and you're going to make sure it says start page numbering at 1. You're not going to change anything else in here, and hit OK. This is coming up because there's already a page 1 set up. Now you should have a page 1 just for your cover, and a page 1 for the start of your book, interior book, which is your table of contents. And all of the pages related. All right, so let's start designing these few pages. Because before we get too ahead of ourselves in creating styles, we want to really make sure we know what we want to do first. So we're going to still have a header. And we're going to want the header to be something. So let's pick a typeface. You can pick up any typeface that you want that exists within your system. You can even go to Adobe Creative Cloud and pick a font too. Remember that the type shouldn't be too crazy. We want to stay within a very clean and easy to read, either serif or sans serif. Let's not use display or really, cartoony looking typeface. We want this to be an impression of something that is important to you, is, a demonstration of your talent. All right, so I'm just going to grab this whole section of Portfolio Spring 2002, and I'm going to change this to Helvetica. And I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to start thinking about the size. And I think 24 is a nice size. Now at this point I could change the color if I wanted to. I can do anything. But this is my first header. So now we want to kind of define this. And maybe we just get everything the same size. Let's make them 18. So they're starting to fall off the page. So maybe all we need to do is just bring that whole type box in. And also see that I have all of this in one type box. You can still change this to be its own size. And I would do auto for leading. So the two A's on top are leading, and the T's that go up in size is the sizing. Do we make sure that all of them have the same type? Yes, I would just keep it with different weights. Bold, italic, thin. Using different weights really help define the text. I like to make sure that my kerning is at optical. So kerning is the little spaces in between each one of the letters. Tracking is a little different. Where kerning kind of looks at each one as their own space, tracking at all the same rate increases the whole space between each one of the letters. Tracking is an overall expansion of either increasing or decreasing. We should think about the leading. And we could just go and do auto, which is bringing it up to 21. But I think we want to put a little more space here. So let's use the arrow to go up a little bit more. And I'm going to want AI to be different than the name of the project. And I want the page number to be different than. So AI, let's do light. I like that. And then let's do our title, maybe regular. And then we can do a whole nother typeface for the letters. And I would do Garamond bold italic display, just to give it a little different text. So this is Helvetica Light. This would be bold, or we did regular. And then we're putting a little bit of a character onto our numbers. So our numbers, let's go back to, it's the last one on it. And you might not have this typeface, but I'm trying to show you how to make the style or multiple typefaces to give a little bit more of a design look. But we can always make a style guide and solve it really quickly. But before we do that, I want to lay out a couple of the pages to make sure I really like this typeface. Plus, I still am not super happy. I'm going to add a little bit. And I always like to do round numbers. So either 35 or 40. And we have plenty of space, so why not give it a little bit of air? And then how do these three styles that we've chosen going to relate to our pages? And one is light, all caps, and then the bottom one is regular. And then this one, let's see if we can do Garamond. So we kind of have a standardized look here. So that's one look, one idea. Let's see what this one would be like if we kept it exactly the same way as the ones that we have set up on the title page. So I'm going to still make this a little bit different by making it uppercase. Now we can make all of these a little bit larger because that's the same setup we had for the ones above. So we might have to adjust the images once we place the images in. We can always at this point make sure you're off of type, hit W, just to make sure if we can put this on a grid, and then we want the number also to be changed. Now, this is a different way we can do it, where they're actually set up. Remember to make sure you're not on type to go to W. I actually put them on the grid, but we can still use the same type treatment that we're using on the others. Doing this system this way will make it a lot easier as you go through your book, and we can set them all in the same paragraph style. So I put in tabs, so I'm going to go over tabs a little bit. So Shift Command T will create tabs. Or you can go to Type Tab. Go up to the menu and then tab. What I can do here is I can make sure that these are all gonna fit. If they're not, maybe I kick this over to the next one. You have to make a decision of how you want to use smaller details to maybe add some impact to the look. So to copy from one page to another and make sure it's exactly the same spot, you have to do Shift Option Command V for paste. Now I know that every time I do that on each one of these pages, it will line up exactly correct. Also, I do like this line being here and how it affects the number of the page. And that the page number also lines up with the column. And this line lines up with that column. I'm really utilizing the column. So because these must change, right? Each page is going to be Illustrator, it might be Photoshop, it might be a new title, it might be a new project. My name will be the same, but these will change. So these two won't. They'll stay consistent on every page and they don't change. Well, actually a number does, but I'm going to show you a trick on how to solve the number pages. So select this and let's copy it. Actually, let's do Command X, which cuts it off the page, but it remembers what it is. I can go now to my master page, and I'm going to clear this master page off. And I'm going to do that same Shift Option Command V to place it exactly correct in my master. So master is the master of the pages. Whatever's on the master will show up on all of the pages. I need to go to layers. If I want this object that's on the master page to be above everything else on all the other spreads, I need to use layers and I need to put it above any of the work that would be in the other layer. So this is the master layer, and then these are the page layers. So any work on the pages would be also in this layer. So let's go back here. And we're going to double check this. So I'm going to make sure that when I look at the master page and select it, it's red. And all these other pages should be blue. Because it's highlighting what layer it's in, right? Red is the master, blue is the pages. So as long as that's happening, my page number should pop up because it's in front of this. You can see that the line is actually there, but so it is there, but we don't need a page number on the first page. So we can go to none and take it out. But remember that if you ever have a full bleed image and you still want your page number to show up, you have to adjust your layers. Table of contents also does not need a page, so we can just make sure that it also has none. Once we start getting into pages, we do want the pages to actually have that artwork. So we make sure that A's are on all of them. I bet you haven't noticed, but if we go to each page, the number has changed. And there's a trick to that. To change the numbers to relate to the page, hence why I had to change this to 1, making this 2, 3, 4, and 5, correct order so that we can write it correctly on our table of contents. I need to also program the letter on the master page, the number of that page. I have to program the number so that it relates to the page. And I do that by, I'm going to add a new page number. I can pick any number. It doesn't matter. Just pick a number. Make sure it's the type style you want. So we want to make sure that it actually is that Garamond bold italic display. So we look at the pages now. You'll see that it will look like 1 every single time. If I select a master, you can see I can't affect it. I will not delete anything that's a master. All of the pages just have 1. Well, I want them to be page 3, page 4, page 5. So there's one more step we need to do. Go back to your master. Select only the number. You're going to go to Menu, Type, Insert Special Character, Marker, Current Page Number. and I want to select that. And you'll see it changes directly into A because this is A master. It will be A. Let's see if it changes on our pages. So I go back to the pages and I see it's 2, which is page 2, 3, which is page 3, 4, 5. So it worked. The yellow line will remain the same on every page. So let's put this on the master page also. We want to cut it out. Command X. We want to go to masters. And we want to do Shift, Option, Command V to paste it in. Let's start setting up our paragraph styles. And what we're going to do is we're going to make Helvetica the prominent paragraph style. So in all of this, I'm going to select it. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to create that it's Helvetica Light. I thought 18, optical. We're going to do normal, and we're going to keep letting at 21. And you can add color if you wanted to. So now that this is set up as pretty much Helvetica Light, we're going to have to make the rest into character. So let's make sure this is all selected, and actually there is no more plus. We need that plus gone. So you can do Command click, and it'll make everything the way it should. So now all of them are under the same format. All right, so we want to make sure that they're all selected correctly and that we put the right titles in it. So this is for headers. So we're going to do header. So the next thing we need to do is now we want to put back the detail that we had here. We made this regular, and then we changed the font entirely. And we can do that through characters now. So in character styles, we can override anything that, the only thing we're changing here is the actual typeface style. So the only thing I need to do is go into base, and I'm just going to change the style. And the style that we chose was a regular. So I'm going to make this regular, so I know that anything I want, I can change it to that regular Helvetica. The next one I'm going to create is this is going to change everything to type all cap. And all we need to do is hit cap case, and we make it all caps. We're going to take this off. We don't want this on. So I can just select it and delete it. The only thing that we are changing is all caps. So we want to make sure we go back to drawing, still life and painting, and change that to regular. And we have Illustrator as just, okay, my name is different. We're going to change this to a whole nother typeface. Garamond, to be that bold. All right, so now we have all of our characters set up. So the first thing I would just need to do is I could select all of this. Oh, I'm going to need a new paragraph. So I'm going to do table headers. All right, so now I got table headers because the thing that's going to change here is the leading. We want to make sure that that base is defined here. That it's all going to be Helvetica and light at first until we change the characters. It's going to be 18, but the leading's going to change. So I'm going to hit OK, and now I've made my base. And I can do Option and click to get that arrow. They all should now be that type. But I want to go in and make it a little bit more colorful. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to my character style, and I'm going to change this to the all caps. And I'm going to make this into the regular, and then I'm going to change this one into the Garamond, and so on. And if I wanted, the nice thing is if I wanted to change this up at any point, I could still change it, and all of them are selected into a style guide. So I have a system I'm building. And if I want to change the system for everything, I can immediately go back after these are all set up and quickly change that system. But they're already connected. You want every page to look correct. All right. So I do see something I'm not fond of. I don't like that the A still looks like, the AI still looks like it's not light. So I want to go into all caps and just make sure that it's not changed from regular. Okay, so we want this to be light. Now let's see if that preview changes. So that changed it for us, and it'll change it for everything. Good. So we've got a few of these set up. So we've got a system. Now what do? Is we need to figure out how we want to lay out all of our projects. Do we put them in the center? Do we make two little boxes for it? Do we put a drop shadow underneath it to make it pop a little more? If you can see, I put a little drop shadow in. Do we just do one page, the one poster, and then a detail? Or do you want to put all the posters together? These are decisions I want you to make. How do you want to display your work? So I've selected this image because I want to change it so that you can see all three of them together. Not that that's the best way to do it, but just how to do it. So I go to Place, and I'm going to go find my other projects. If you hit spacebar, it'll let you see a detail of it. So I want to make sure I'm not putting the wrong one in. Select the other one, go to File, go to Place, which is also Command D. And again, I can just double check by hitting that spacebar that I'm not putting the same one in. So we're going to want this one. All right. So the only thing that's missing on this page is the title. So I can select it, copy it, and paste it over. Then again, Shift, Option, Command, V. So another one that we have here is the drawing. So this is one way you can do it. What if this was a full spread? You could still see the number on the bottoms. So that's how it's placed, how big it's put on the screen is important. So if I want to add drop shadows on these, I can select my image. I can go back into properties and I can hit this effect. I can also go into object effects. So there's always sometimes a couple of locations where you can find effects. All right. So if I'm going to do drop shadow, I can just click it from here under the menu object to effects drop shadow. And then I can add what I've done before. You really want to make sure it stays consistent. The whole idea of a portfolio is really showcasing this same look, that everything looks very organized. You have a system in play. It's clean. And you're guiding the viewer through your work. And as you can see right away, it's a lot darker. It's cast all the way around. So I put it towards the center. I beefed up the size, which is the size of which this gradient comes out, to, was it 0.25? And then I want to reduce the effect because I want it just to be as subtle. So that's what it's looking like. Or I can go up to menu, object, but let's start it here now. Drop shadow. Remember all your numbers. You can always check back at the one you did last. So 50, 90. Now I've got that same look. It will look weird if you decide to do one a little bit different than the other. So you're going to need to do more than this, right? We just kind of set up Illustrator. You can take the page and drag and drop a new one, which will be identical from the one that you did. You can just add a blank page if you wanted to. Once you've made all of your pages, you would change this. If you're going to do monogram and pattern on the same page, then yes, it would be on page 2. But if monogram and pattern will be on 2 pages, then maybe this is 2, 3. So make sure you're clear on what page these are all on. It might change depending on how you want to lay out your portfolio. All right, so that's it. Can't wait to see it. If you get this in sooner than the due date, I will give you feedback so that you can move forward. I will want to see the InDesign. I will want to check to see if you created your character and paragraph style guides.